Call the meeting to order. Um, Alan, if you would give the roll call, please.
Absolutely. I'm sorry.
No rush.
Counselor Dubs,
Here.
Counselor Stratton,
Here.
Counselor Robbins,
Here.
Council Vice President Clemmer.
Here.
All is present. You have a quorum.
Okay, I fixed it.
You've all done it.
Okay, is there public comment?
Zaborski.
Okay,
Would you
sorry.
like me to,
Melissa Makarowski.
would you like me to time it, Jeremy?
Sure. Thank you.
I mean, Council.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, Melissa.
Melissa Macaborski, I live in Northampton. Want to give a quick comment in favor of the city council having its own attorney. I think separation of interest is very important. We need to have increased democracy in Northampton, and this is a great way to start doing that.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else that would like to speak?
I would, please.
Oh, thank you.
And
Okay, go ahead.
And I'm going to speak on behalf of Mayor Sherrill, who could not be here because of the storm, and then myself. I don't know how much time I have, but I can go very quickly.
Go for it.
Okay, so Mayor Sherrill asked me to say on her behalf that she is happy to support the reappointment of Attorney Alan Seawald as City Solicitor for the City of Northampton for this term. He has served the city since 2012, and he is also a resident of the city. He is an expert in municipal and land use law, which has served the city quite well for these 14 years. Before being the city solicitor, he served as town council for Amherst for many years and Westminster before then. He has also taught land use planning and municipal law at the Western New England University School of Law and judicial planning law at the University of Massachusetts. We are extremely fortunate to have him as our city solicitor. He also manages our outside legal counsel for specialized legal needs, and we have benefited greatly from his own expertise and that of those he engages. He is widely recognized in his field, and his wise counsel has helped guide the city to the stability Northampton currently enjoys. And then for myself, I will speak from direct experience. I have worked closely with Attorney Seawald since 2019. In practical terms, he serves as the city's chief operating officer of City of Northampton Legal Incorporated. Our city solicitor manages the full legal portfolio of this government with discipline and judgment, engaging outside counsel when needed, guiding complex land use matters, housing development issues, environmental reviews, litigation, cable license renewals, procurement questions, and ethics concerns. He brings order to complexity. What I value most is not only his expertise, but his steadiness. In all my work with him, he has been unwavering in one core principle. His client is not the mayor, it's not the city council, but it is the city of Northampton. That clarity matters. I have never once felt even a trace of bias toward any person or power. His loyalty is to the institution and the public interest. He is responsive, he is prepared. He is more than willing to dissent when he believes the city is headed in the wrong direction. He does so directly and professionally. That kind of grounded, independent counsel is not an obstacle to progress. It is the foundation of responsible municipal government. We are also fortunate to benefit from a highly skilled local practitioner who provides direct, senior-level attention on every matter. Larger municipal firms that serve communities across the Commonwealth do important work, but often operate under a more traditional model in which junior attorneys handle routine matters and senior counsel step in only for the most complex issues. Northampton receives Attorney Seawald's seasoned judgment on every question, and we receive it at a tremendous value. Northampton benefits greatly from having a solicitor who is both highly skilled in municipal law and deeply invested in the well-being of his own community as a resident. We are fortunate to have him. Thank you.
Thanks. Would you mind just saying your name? Or yeah,
Alan Wolf, City of Northampton, Ward 4.
Thank you, Alan. Anyone else for public comment? Okay, it's looking like none, so we can move on to the election of chair and vice chair. Do we have any nominations for chair? Councilor Clemmer.
I would like to nominate Counselor Dubs.
Thank you. Are there any, does somebody have to second that or no? Okay. Are there any other nominations? Okay, well, I happily accept that nomination. I guess just talk a little about myself. I served on the city services committee for 2 years in my previous term. with Councillor Moulton as the chair and Councillor Labarge as the vice chair. And I was a big fan of being on this committee. I like the structure of it. I like being able to meet people that are applying to serve our city, and I'm getting to talk to them and learn more about them. I like that we can do more than just interview people for city services. We can also have special meetings when we want to talk about specific city services issues in the city. For example, in my first term, I worked with Councilor Moulton to put together a meeting about snow removal. And so we had a city services special meeting on snow removal, which for me was a big deal because as a counselor, it was my first time being able to talk about an important issue to me on at an official meeting with the mayor there and other city officials to talk about snow removal. And so that's one of the things I like about being on city services, that you can do that. It's kind of an open committee where when you have an idea, you can put a meeting together to talk about it. So yeah, I've really enjoyed my time on this committee, and I would be honored to be the chair. Thanks. Um, yep.
I just want to say a couple words why I think you would be a great chair. I did work with you for the short time last term when I was on city services, and you were a great help to me as, just coming in at the last minute like I did. You were really helpful getting me started and answering any questions I had about how to proceed with interviews and, just what was expected of counselors. So I appreciated that a lot. And yeah, I'm excited that you're taking a leadership role, and I think you'll be great at it. You're fair. You show up to meetings, and I'm excited to have you as chair.
Thanks, Deb.
Mhm.
Okay, so I guess we should have a vote unless anyone else wants to speak. What do you do? Roll call? Is that we do? Roll call, please. Yeah.
Counselor Stratton,
Counselor Dubs.
Counselor Robbins,
Counselor Dubs.
Counselor Clemmer,
Counselor Dubs.
Counselor Dubs.
Councilor Tubbs. All right, thank you. I appreciate that. And next we have the nomination for vice chair. I'd like to nominate Councilor Clemmer. Yeah.
And I'd like to nominate Counselor Stratton, please.
Okay. Now, so Councilor Clemmer, would you like to speak?
Yeah, I was on this committee for part of last term when I had to replace another counselor, and I really enjoyed interviewing people and getting to know more people in the community and people that are volunteering and stepping up. And I also chaired community resources, and we did ex-counselor Moulton and I had some meetings together where we coordinated and collaborated to bring the two groups together for special meetings. So I enjoyed working with community resources, and I mean, city services in that respect too. So, and I have leadership experience. I have good relationship with department heads, which I think is important because some of these appointments have to work with in various departments, and it helps to talk to the department heads to see what they are looking for in their volunteers. So I think that's a bonus to have that relationship with people.
Councilor Stratton.
So I think it's interesting when you look at the council rules that the Committee for City Services has one very explicit responsibility, which is, reviewing appointments. But it also has a very broad mission, essentially, I would say, to ensure that city government is fulfilling the needs of our people. And so this is a committee that is very much what its members make of it. We can play a large role, or we can play a small role. We can play an involved role, or we can play a passive role. I also think that it's interesting when you consider the appointment process. As we know, the Northampton Housing Authority is a fundamentally challenging organization to run, even beyond the people. It just has a very, very challenging job. And it is actually a state agency over which, even the executive side of local government, the mayor's office, doesn't really have any say after appointments. So I think there's been a very mutual recognition that appointments to the Housing Authority in particular are something that need to be done with very, very great degree of care. But I think we can also extend that thought to, the operation of the city itself, that this is the opportunity where the city council has to weigh in on the leadership of a huge, 2/3 of our city. That the candidates for leadership of that pass and repass through this committee. And, certainly we want to be very fair to qualified candidates, but this is also the chance on behalf of, the voters in our city and our ward to make sure that we are on the path as a city of fulfilling the needs of our people. And so I take this responsibility very seriously, and I hope that this committee will be diligent in its review. Be fair, but be diligent. So I would be interested in being involved in the operations of this committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Robbins, would you like to speak on behalf of your nomination?
Sure, thank you.
Yep.
I have heard over our nominations and our elections on our different committees how important it is to have experienced leadership and how important it is to have leadership that is in training, that comes along and is able to learn from experience and then assume that leadership as times roll through. And I think there's great value in that. I appreciate that Councillor Clemmer is very experienced as being on the committee. Councillor Clemmer also is taken on quite a load already on council. And this is a terrific opportunity to bring along a new member who can learn the ropes and become familiar with the process that's there. And I also appreciate Councillor Stratton's sort of broadening the scope of what the committee is, because I agree that it can be what we make of it. And it doesn't necessarily just need to be approving members of existing committees. It could be a little bit more expansive than that and meet maybe greater needs of city service when it comes down to it. So I wholeheartedly recommend him for this position.
Thank you, and I'll speak on my nomination for Councillor Clemmer. It's been great working with you for the past couple of years as councillors, and I really respected how you stepped up when it was necessary for us to get a new member of City Services last term, because one of our members was no longer part of the committee, and you stepped up to the plate, and you became very knowledgeable as quick as you could, joining the committee so late in the term, and I thought you did a really great job, and yeah, I just really appreciate your enthusiasm and desire to be a leader and step up and do the work. So, and you always come prepared, and you're very reliable, and so I appreciate that about you. And so, yeah, it would be great if you were the vice chair. Yep. Okay, so do a roll call, Alan.
Council Vice President Clemmer,
Councillor Clemmer.
Councilor Robbins,
Councillor Stratton.
Councilor Dubs,
Councillor Clemmer.
Councilor Stratton.
Councillor Stratton.
All right, it appears we have a tie. And I think that means we do it again. Is that right? Or that's what we did.
Yeah,
When
just keep going.
We just keep going. Yeah.
I think there's opportunity for discussion if you choose to.
Okay. Anybody have wish to speak?
I mean, just to speak to what, sorry, is it okay if I?
Yeah, of course. Go for it. Yeah.
To speak to what Councillor Robbins said, I am taking a lot and I'm doing it because I know I can. I have the time. And I have the experience now to know how the different committees work. And I wouldn't have accepted Councillor Dubs' nomination if I felt that I was not going to be able to give 100% to each and every committee and job that I've taken on this term. I am definitely available. I'm at every meeting. I'm here early. I show up, and this isn't going to be a huge burden to me. I have the time to do the work.
Councillor Robbins.
And I appreciate that, Councillor Clemmer, and I think that's not the issue. The issue is really around the importance of what we heard in the last few weeks about how important it is to bring on new members of council, which I think is critical. So there are very few of you who are moving forward with your additional term or terms on council. And I see this as a terrific opportunity to be able to extend and bring on newer members. And this is always what I worry about, what happens when there are 4 people voting. So I don't know, really know where it goes. And I think in the best of interests, it really behooves us to maybe even take a minute to sort of think about where we go forward. I don't think this has happened very often in council committees. So I don't know what happens with that.
If you don't mind me responding, yeah, only one time have I experienced something like this. It was on community resources last term, and we just kept going around. We voted. I don't even know how many times we voted, but we did it a bunch of times. I'd be happy to take a break or whatever you want to do, and like think about it. How do you guys feel? Or okay, okay. Roll call,
Another
Al.
vote. Okay, great. Counselor at Large Robbins,
Councillor Stratton.
Counselor Dubs,
Counselor Clemmer.
Counselor Stratton,
Councillor Stratton.
and Counselor Clemmer.
Council Clemmer.
Okay.
Names tied.
Should we take a recess? A short recess, and
Sure.
is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Or
I mean,
no, go for it.
I'm not, I don't think we're really allowed to confer during a recess or anything. So
Okay.
I'm not sure if that accomplishes a whole lot. I don't know if we're allowed to move ahead with the business of the committee.
no, you have to wait
Um,
because you need a
I think we have to do
um,
this.
Speaking to the actual question, if I may,
Yeah.
I think one of the large differences is in the view of the role of this committee. And I have no doubt that Councillor Clemmer has the time to fulfill her vision of this committee. I think that this committee is a bit more work than that. And I would like to see this committee taking a more active role than I have. I've, reviewed past meetings, and I think that it has been conducting itself as a bit of a formality in many cases. And I think that we have a duty to be a little bit more deliberative in our consideration of things.
I'm okay with carrying on if you want to just keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, just to respond to Councilor Stratton. Anybody could, as you know, could put stuff on the agenda and talk to Councilor Chair Dubs about the meeting. You don't have to be in a leadership role to add things to meetings, so anybody can do that.
I
Councilor
mean,
Stratton.
that is true. There is definitely a larger role in that for the vice chair. And I do, also appreciate the opportunity to learn additional aspects of the trade, shall we say. I mean, as I've said in a previous committee meeting, I came to this very informed on the issues, but not as practiced in the process. And that is being a learning process. So I, would appreciate the opportunity of being the backup chair.
Councilor Clemmer? Or okay. Well, here we are. um I don't, it's hard for me because don't want to not picking sides in any way. Um Councilor Clemmer, I guess I feel like there is a good point that it if Councilor Stratton is interested in doing the work, and you are chair of other committees and vice chair, to give him the chance wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, as I guess is how I'm feeling. You know what I mean? Well, just how do you feel about that? Or
I mean, you nominated me for vice chair. I want to be vice chair, but
yeah, no,
I don't,
yeah, this is an awkward moment because there's only 4 of us, so it's like, but we do have to do something. So, Councilor Robbins.
This did happen sort of the other day when Councillor Perry nominated. Did he nominate you? I can't remember.
He did. That was an interesting situation. I think maybe that was more a mutual courtesy kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't feel that that was.
Wasn't this?
I mean, in truth, it was not a role I was as interested in.
Yeah, just wanted to check it. So it was, but it was a situation where a member did nominate somebody else and then ended up voting differently. And so there, I think there's precedent and room for that if that's.
Okay. Well, Councilor Clemmer, I guess, I know that I guess it's just, this is tough for me because I really like working with you and I nominated you for, because I think that would be great if you were vice chair. But I guess there is a point that I don't think it's a bad point, the fact that, you and I, in our first term, we had the chance to, I was the chair of the Ordinance Review Committee. You were the vice chair of Community Resources.
Chair.
You were chair of the Community Resources, sorry. And so I feel like you and I had opportunities to have that experience in our first term. And so I feel like it wouldn't hurt to give Councilor Stratton that opportunity in his first term. So I guess that's where I'm at on that.
Okay. Can we just take a quick break?
Yeah. We'll recess for 5 minutes. Okay. Would anyone like to make any more statements? Would you like to speak again or before we vote? Okay. Alan, would you do the roll call, please?
Absolutely. I think you are up, Counselor Dubs,
And Counselor Stratton.
Counselor Stratton,
Councillor Stratton.
Council Vice President Clemmer,
Counselor Clemmer.
and Counselor at Large Robbins.
Counselor Stratton.
Okay. Well, it sounds like we have a new chair, our new vice chair. Thank you. So, Counselor Stratton, congratulations. Okay. Next item on our agenda is the minutes, minutes of December 15th, 2025, the special city services meeting that we had on December 15th. There a motion to approve those minutes? Is there?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Motion made by Counselor Stratton, seconded by Counselor Clemmer. Roll call, please, Alan.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm a slower typist. So this time we start with Counselor Stratton
Approve.
and Council Vice President Clemmer,
Approve.
Counselor at Large Robbins,
Approve.
and Counselor Dubs.
Approve. Okay, that passes unanimously. And now we have items referred to the committee, an appointment of attorney Alan Seawald as city solicitor. Would you like to speak, Alan Seawald?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Of course.
For those of you who don't know me, anybody watching who doesn't know me, my name is Alan Seawald. I've lived in Northampton for the past 45 years, and I'm a proud resident of Ward 4. And I was appointed city solicitor by Mayor Narkowitz initially in 2012, and I was honored to be offered the position, and it's been my distinct honor to represent my hometown for the past 14 years. Just as background, I've been practicing in municipal law now for 41 years. This is my 41st year. I've had major clients like the city of Northampton, the town of Amherst, the town of Westminster, but I've also represented municipalities and agencies of municipalities from the city of Boston down to the Whately Planning Board, and everything in between. My entire legal career has been dedicated to municipal law and land use law, and but I haven't had an appointment that I cherish the way I have cherished representing my adopted hometown of Northampton. This is my 7th iteration of the city council that I've worked with, and I've enjoyed working with city councilors, and I look forward to the opportunity to do so again. One thing I have learned in 41 years is that when representing a municipality or any large organization, the organization is the client. The mayor is not my client. The city council is not my client. Individual councilors are not my clients. The city of Northampton is my client. And I have endeavored for the past 14 years and for the decades before that to make sure that when I'm giving advice that is in the best interests of this city, and I don't choose sides. I don't engage in politics in Northampton, and frankly, I would say that most of the councils I've worked with have had no idea what my personal opinion is on anything, and I intend, if reconfirmed, to continue in that vein. I really appreciate the time that this committee is taking to have me and to consider my nomination, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Attorney Seawald. Any questions or discussion for Attorney Seawald? Oh, Councilor Robbins.
So we actually haven't seen your contract. Does that just go through the mayor?
In general, yes. And it has not changed. There is no new contract that has been
We
drafted.
haven't seen the old contract.
Okay. I can get you a copy of that for sure. Yes, it goes back to Mayor Narkowitz, that contract. There has been no revision to it other than when you have voted for increased resources for the legal department.
Right. I think I kept kind of hoping it would show up in our stuff, in our packet, and it wasn't there. So I guess one of my questions was if, I know that this is it's different contractual than what we put out for an RFP when we look for, people who we're bringing on, but I don't understand the difference between, the fundamental contract that we have with Attorney Seawald and what might be additional billable hours and what that has looked like retrospectively. So it's hard to know, so it's, the qualifications certainly are there and that's wonderful, but it's also, so what's a cost?
Throw it to you, Alan, or city solicitor.
So when I started 14 years ago, I was billing at the rate of $150 an hour. And I'm now billing at the rate of $200 an hour. And so my rate has gone up $50 over the past 14 years. That's about half of my private billing rate.
So do you have a contractual base amount that you get? Do we have a retainer with you in addition?
No, it would be inappropriate to have a retainer with a lawyer because you don't pay for services as a municipality until the services are performed. And so I have no retainer. I get no money up front. What I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm not sure what it is. What are you asking?
I'm just trying to get some sense of what the city has engaged in terms of paying you for how many billable hours were there and that's kind of the ballpark around it. I saw two recent payments that I think were around 35,000. I don't know what those were for.
Those are quarterly payments. I bill quarterly. So what you saw were quarterly payments. Approximately in the $125,000 a year range, 130 somewhere in there. Don't forget there are a number of other lawyers who are providing services for the city and are being paid out of the legal budget. So, but mine is somewhere between, I would guesstimate about $120,000 to $140,000 a year. And so those $35,000 or $30,000 quarterly bills are common. That's about what it takes, what I've been billing.
Councilor Robbins, do you have any more questions? Oh, okay. Anyone else? Councilor Clemmer?
Was, were the last 2 years pretty average as far as how many times you were consulted by counselors or?
It's not just, well, it's really hard to answer that question because it goes up and down depending on what's happening in the city. And clearly my billing is not really doesn't fluctuate that much based on what counselors are asking me.
Could I didn't mean counselors, but just, was it the last couple of years kind of average?
Yeah, they were average years, yeah.
If you would like, I have in front of me the actuals for 2022 was 234,570. The actual for 23 was 264,240. The actual for 24 was 275,000, and the budget for both 25 and 26 was 275,000. So,
but clearly not just to me. That's all the lawyers.
Right, that's the entire legal ink for the city of Northampton.
So that's under the heading of city solicitor? So all the lawyers we employ come under the heading of city solicitor.
And that includes Layla, does it not? Or is it,
Includes Layla, who does the school.
She's separate.
I don't believe so.
let
believe
me,
she
let me,
is.
let me see if I can, but certainly it would be Lou Moore, our environmental lawyer. It would be Bill August, the lawyer who helped us negotiate the Comcast agreement recently. There's a whole stable of specialists that Alan manages.
And Layla is the labor lawyer on the city side as well. So she would.
So that's her billing for what she does with the city side, but not the school side. Okay. Boy, it would be great to have a breakdown of that. It's really hard to do a budget not knowing, isn't it?
I can talk to the finance director.
Councilor Stratton?
Yeah, I would actually just like to observe that this has been a very useful little bit of information because, you know, I've seen the budget line that says 275,000 for the last 2 years, and you know, expenses that were close to but consistent with that. But you know, also I'm just looking in open check right now, and the quarterly bills are like 35 to 40,000, so that's, you know, less than 160. And I think there'd been a little lack of clarity in my mind on that. So, you know, I think this has been very useful information. And if we could get a little bit more detail on this for Thursday for the full council, I think that would be extremely helpful. But I've appreciated the answers to these questions in real time.
Okay. Any other questions for Alan Sewell? Attorney Sewell, I would just like to say that in my first term, I really enjoyed working with you. We worked closely together on the Ordinance Review Committee, and you were extremely helpful on that. I mean, members of that committee, we could only talk for like maybe 5 minutes before we had a question for you. It seemed like we constantly had questions for you, and you were always there to help. And I appreciated how you're impartial and very straightforward, and you just tell it like it is, basically. I guess my question for you might sound a little generic, but I just feel like I appreciated when you said that you cherish this is your hometown, and if you could talk a little bit about like kind of like what drives you like to do this job, or what got you interested, or what motivates you to be the city attorney. Thanks.
Well, you know, I've been a municipal attorney, as I've said, for decades, and and I've at the same time I've lived in this community for that period of time. And I will be honest that I've always wanted to be the city solicitor. I didn't solicit the job, but when Mayor Narkowitz offered it to me, I jumped at the opportunity. I actually had, you know, truth be told, I had a couple of cases against the city at the time, because when you're a municipal lawyer, you're on both sides of issues that, you know, that are in the municipal realm. And I had to, I had to get out of some cases and give up some clients in order to become city solicitor, but it was something that I really wanted to do for my community, and I thought that I could contribute to my community. And and it has played out that way, and I've really been honored to do this work. And not only councilors, but department heads and mayors. I mean, people I've worked with have been outstanding. And so I've really enjoyed and cherished doing this work and you know, and frankly, if I had been doing this work privately, I could have made a lot more money. But that was not my goal. My goal was to contribute to my community, and I hope I have done that.
Thank you, Councilor Clemmer.
Yeah, I just want to say that you know, the few times I did contact you for legal help, you got right back to me. You got me the information I needed, and if you couldn't, you got, you know, pointed me in direction or got the information. So, you know, I think you've done a great job, and I appreciate what you do for us here. And I know you can make a lot more in the outside world, and but you know, you chose to serve the city of Northampton, and I really appreciate that. So
Appreciate that.
I am excited to vote for you for another 4 years.
Appreciate that, Council.
Mhm.
Thank you. And thank you, Council.
Councilor Robbins.
I had one more question and then I had a comment. So can I ask the question first?
Sure.
Okay. And I should have asked you, how do you see in terms of your workload, the differentiation between billable hours for the council versus the billable hours for the city?
The council is part of the city. I represent the city, so I don't differentiate in billing. I bill for the work I do. I do, as you look at my bills are separated out by department, and city council is one of those departments. But I'm not, otherwise, I don't believe I differentiate between council work and any other work.
So you don't differentiate the billing between the council and, for example, working with the mayor or with Alan?
On the bill, you would see
The
that.
billing. Oh,
Yes,
okay.
You would see that the council is a department, and so all the work I've done for the council would be under, and there are, in certain cases, I can't say that I'm as astute with this as I should be, maybe, but I do break it down into matters. When there's a long-standing matter, I do break it down into matters. So the bills are specific. They're not just generic bills. They are specific to what I've done for each department, including the city council. So I don't differentiate between the council and other agencies of the city.
So I guess what I'm trying to get a sense of is how much time do you feel you spend on council, specifically council business versus city business, if you're going to give a percentage to it?
Oh, I think the council is relatively medium low on the totem pole because, I have more day-to-day activities with department heads and the mayor. But, the council is one of the important agencies that I do provide counsel to. Um, I don't have percentages in my head, and these things vary from quarter to quarter, depending on what's going on.
And now can I do my comment? Okay, which is, it would be good to have a clearer understanding of that overall, maybe something that could be tracked about council hours versus city hours. And I too really appreciate Attorney Seawald's work over the years and his ever-ready presence there and willingness to answer questions. And I've seen it in action, and it's you're right there, and it's great. You're on the phone a lot, you're present and all that. But I have long entertained the idea of that separation of powers in terms of the council having its own attorney. That it's hard to figure out. What the cost of that would be. Would have to be an appropriated amount, but I believe we have the legal right to do that. It's in our charter. I have believe that it's also according to the Department of Local Services, Department of Revenue. We have the right to do that. And I would love us to be able to have discussion about that possibility. So I don't know how we would make that recommendation back to the larger council, but my recommendation would be to say, I think Attorney Seawald's done a wonderful job for the city overall, but it would be very interesting to explore whether or not we could do that separation and consider having a council-only attorney, and then, put out an RFQ, put out a job description, and put out an RFQ, talk about the appropriation on an exploratory basis. And I don't know how that would work with as an interim. You're going on as an interim with the council in the meantime. It's something that other councils have done, have entertained. I don't believe it's something we've done in the city, at least not for a long time, not to my knowledge. So my proposal would be that we consider bringing back a recommendation to the council to have a longer discussion about this.
Anyone else? Councilor Stratton?
I mean, this is something that I've thought about a lot, and I have an item on Thursday's full council agenda. I think my challenge for today is that this committee is under a deadline to act, and we need to report something to the full council. And I'm very torn on that, actually, because I've enjoyed my brief interactions with Attorney Seawald, and I'm trying to separate my my thoughts on the person from my thoughts on the job, or shall I say, my thoughts on the person as the unitary attorney versus the person as the executive branch attorney. And that's not a matter that's technically before us, this committee in this moment, but it is definitely influencing my thoughts on that. There is the question in my mind of whether one person can truly advise potentially competing parties. And, we are a government that cooperates. I mean, we've had some great discussions with the executive branch about, the snow challenges, for example. But there are also from time to time questions of, what is executive authority versus what is legislative? Can an ordinance restrict or require things of the executive? These are open questions of law. And there's going to be some push and pull on them. And, when we can accomplish things cooperatively, that is by far the better for the city. But, go back to the surveillance ordinance. There was, there was a little push and tug on that with the past mayor. And so there is that fundamental question in my mind of whether one person can sort of be that neutral source on the rules to both sides of a little bit of a tug of war that can come up. But even setting that aside, there's the question in my mind of who gets to choose that resource. And, the city solicitor is a role established under the charter, has assigned responsibilities, is effectively the enforcement attorney to a number of city boards, is obviously the mayor's resource for legal advice, is charged with overseeing the ordinance review committee. Those things are all fixed and not something that the city council could just say, hey, we want to change this. I mean, we could say we want to talk about it, but we can't just do it. But in terms of the council's own, resource of legal advice, I sort of feel that the council should have a little bit more say in who the provider is. And so those are reasons why I find this not just a simple question. I mean, if we were evaluating Solicitor Seawald for the role effectively is the mayor's legal advocate, I've had a few minor disagreements on some points of law about like municipal responsibility for sidewalk access and things, but I don't really have any reservations there. I mean, I enjoy working with you and I would like to see you continue in that. What I'm trying to figure out is how this committee could today, if we chose to sort of express some reservation about having this particular candidate as also the council's attorney. And, the actions we can take in this room right now are fairly constrained. I mean, we can make a recommendation. Maybe we can make a recommendation with some language amended to it. And I'm sort of curious what we might be able to find some pragmatic compromise on.
Okay. Councilor Clemmer?
I would just like to call the question.
Sure. Um,
Point of order, what is the question?
The vote
oh, you mean to
to
do you want to make a motion?
motion to approve or vote
Okay.
on the matter at hand.
I'll second that motion.
Well,
we can still talk
point-
about it though.
Point of,
Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I think we can make a positive recommendation, we can make a negative recommendation, we can make a neutral recommendation, we can make no recommendation, we can make a recommendation with some additional wording. So I don't think we have a motion yet.
Okay. So,
I'm happy to work on that if that's okay with Councillor Clemmer. I don't know if you've made
Happy to
you've
what?
made a motion to call the question, but
Yeah.
there's not a question. Are you, I don't know where we are on that.
I'd make a motion to to vote or
well,
the vote on the floor. Like,
Where are we
what's
on
the-
I think it's tough because in my experience in our first term, the person making the motion would say, I'll make a motion for a positive recommendation, but it seems like, we're not all on that page right now. So we're talking about what the motion should be. So Councilor Robbins, would you like to?
Motion.
Okay, what would you like
Um,
to say?
My motion would be that we make a positive recommendation to approve Attorney Seawald's appointment as the city side, the mayor's attorney, and that we make, I don't know what the other part of it, we make the recommendation that council explore the possibility of putting out an RFQ and talking about hiring our own attorney, and certainly having Attorney Seawald, if he chose to be part of that.
I don't think you can do that because that's not on the agenda. The agenda is talking about Attorney Seawald today.
Well, I
And
think
that-
Councillor Dobbs just said I could, so.
Wait.
Yeah.
So what's the reason you think that she can't?
Well, Councilor Robbins is saying to split it, to say we can approve or not approve or whatever, Attorney Seawald, and then Part B is to explore other options, but that's not on the agenda, the exploring other attorneys, because Attorney Seawald his appointment is on the agenda, and that's what we have to discuss, and not, the other motion is not part of the agenda, bringing in another attorney. That's on Thursday's agenda.
I do see what you're saying. Go for it, Counselor Robbins.
Okay, just to say, I hear you. But I would have to say then that I would prefer us to be a little bit more creative about what we bring back. And maybe it does have to be, you know, an up or down kind of thing. But I would then, in that case, have to make a negative on my vote, because it wouldn't really express what I'm feeling right now. I'm feeling very much split down the middle on this. So I couldn't make a positive, and I don't feel like I could make a neutral, because I feel like this is an opportunity to explore something new. And I'm always curious about how and this is a good time as a group probably to explore how we talk about, or how we have discussions about things that don't fit into the box that come back to the council. Do we vote on it, and then the chair comes back and says, this is the discussion and this is where we got stuck? Would that be our bring back to it?
We could do that. I guess another thought I had is that we could just vote yes or no, and then we could and then that would show on the record that 2 members voted no on it, and you know what I mean, or something like that.
Well, it's positive, neutral, or negative, right?
Right, but I guess I'm saying if the motion was for a positive recommendation, you could vote no on that, maybe. I guess that's how.
That's what I'm asking.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I guess that's what I'm thinking could
Okay.
work. What, Counselor Stratton?
I mean, I would prefer a positive recommendation of Attorney Seawald for the roles explicitly defined in the Charter and Administrative Code, which is essentially the executive branch roles, the Ordinance Review Committee, you know, citizen petition approval. I mean, the things that are required of the city solicitor by definition, but with some language that encouraged the council to consider its own legal representation. Where I maybe differ from Councilor Robbins is that if we're uncomfortable doing that, then I would move for a neutral recommendation. If the choice is a positive recommendation, I would have to vote against it, but I don't really want to do that to Attorney Seawald. I would rather sort of report the question without the committee putting its thumb on the scale then, if we can't agree, and just I would be willing to vote for a neutral recommendation.
Okay.
And I would prefer approving a neutral recommendation to voting against a positive recommendation.
Counselor Clemmer?
Anybody could vote however they want, and you brought the item as new business at the last meeting, which is going to be on the agenda on this Thursday special meeting. So we're going to talk about it then. And but today we're voting on approving or not approving, or a neutral recommendation for Attorney Seawald.
We're actually voting on the mayor's recommendation to do this, right?
I can read it to you.
What's that? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, wait a second. Appointment of Attorney Seawald as city solicitor is the item on the agenda.
Right, it's from Mayor Chiara, I believe.
I'm just bringing it up.
It's an interesting question for us at our first meeting.
That's fine. I'm glad that we're having this discussion. Counselor Stratton?
I mean, you know, Councilor Clemmer is correct that the council rules, you know, proposal is not on the agenda of this committee. My concern is that if this committee reports a positive recommendation, that sort of puts our thumb on the scale and preempting that a little bit. And that's why I would have to, in protest, vote against a positive recommendation. But I could happily vote for a neutral recommendation, which essentially just says that, you know, this committee talked about matters and is handing it back to the full council where everyone can weigh in.
I think that might make sense to have a neutral recommendation, because then we can have that discussion at the next meeting. And sorry, go ahead, Clemson.
No, sorry, you finished.
I was just basically, yeah, I feel like we're going to be having this conversation in a couple of days, and if we say that this is a neutral recommendation, then that will give us the opportunity to explain what we're all talking about today. Like we could talk about the reservations that Councilor Robbins and Councilor Stratton are having, you know, And yeah, I mean, I feel like that might be rather than having negative, people voting no on a positive recommendation.
Well, we don't vote as a block, we vote as individuals, so anybody could vote however they feel fit. And
But there's only, sorry, not, I didn't mean to interrupt you. There's only going to be one motion, though. You know what I mean? It'll be a motion for a positive recommendation or a neutral recommendation. So you
I
should,
feel comfortable not giving Attorney Seawald a positive recommendation.
okay. Well, other members have expressed that they would vote no on that. Um, so
Should we do a vote, see what,
we could do that. But when we're only doing one vote, though, right? I mean, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I do believe that we can have multiple, if we have a motion and it fails, we can have another motion.
Okay.
I don't believe that we're, prohibited from continuing to consider the issue after one vote. I don't think that we have a mechanism where unlike the leadership election where everyone can just state their free choice. I think we have to have, to my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think we have to have a specific, flavor of recommendation, and then we vote on whether we agree or disagree.
Okay. Sorry, can you clarify that, what you did, the last part of what you just said? Can you just repeat that for me?
I believe that a motion has to be stated as a particular, can I say, flavor of recommendation, I mean, positive, neutral, negative, none, and that we would vote that recommendation up or down. I don't believe that we can, in effect, each state our own recommendation. Unlike the leadership election where we could each state our own candidate.
Right. So, sorry, Council Robbins?
So, so that means we really all have to have, it comes to consensus in a way. So it's one vote for all of us, no matter what it is. So it could be, it's somebody puts forward a motion for a positive recommendation and you get, some yeses and some nos. I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was wondering. Like if we did that, would we be able to then have another vote for a neutral recommendation, or no? We can't do that, or can we? Okay, I see. Okay, I've just never done that before. So, but if
isn't it just, don't we just vote and then we move it forward with, whatever, 3 neutrals and a positive, or I don't think it has to be unanimous.
oh, I see. So you're saying
So I've heard it.
just one vote on yes, no, or neutral?
Item on the agenda, which is approving
I don't know if we can do that.
Seawald and Attorney Seawald, and then we move it forward, or we can just do a positive recommendation with the qualifications that Councilor Robbins and Stratton put forward.
Okay,
Oh.
Councilor Stratton.
Maybe I did not understand the last proposal.
Just to put the recommendation for Attorney Seawald forward with a positive recommendation with the qualifications that Councilor Robbins and that you spoke to.
Councilor Robbins.
So now I'm really confused because I thought you said we couldn't do that.
Couldn't do what?
We couldn't make a motion that included, it had to be
But
a
you could-
simple up or down motion, and it could include a recommendation on it.
You can say,
Are you getting, I don't know, are you consulting someone else on this?
this is Councilor Maori.
Can you just talk to us? That would be great.
I'm finding out if, I mean, she just texted me information since none of us seem to know how to move forward. We can do a positive recommendation, and then since you could just speak on the record to your reservations about this.
So can I make a motion then?
Yeah, yes, please. Yeah.
I would make a motion to recommend a neutral recommendation based on members of this committee that had some alternative ideas.
I'm super new at this, but you have now 2 motions on the floor. You need to abandon the first one.
Point of order? I don't believe there was a second to any motion yet.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
I think that I am uncomfortable voting for an unexplained positive recommendation. I mean, a positive recommendation that doesn't have explanatory language in it. And I hear Councilor Clemmer is uncomfortable voting for a neutral recommendation. Am I correct? And I want to respect that, even though we disagree. I'm wondering if there is actually a path where we don't vote and we just each report our one sentence conclusion. I don't know.
Yeah, no. I don't know either. I've never done that before, but I don't know. Councilor Robbins, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I have made a motion and I'm wondering if I could get a second on it. Is that a possibility?
I'll second that. Okay. We can still discuss it. Councilor Stratton.
I mean, that is my preferred outcome. I'm sensitive to it putting Councilor Clemmer in an uncomfortable place.
Okay. Yeah, I'm uncomfortable. I would not want to do that either. A few moments ago, you mentioned that maybe we could do a positive recommendation with explanations. Or yeah. So you are open to that then, or
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everything we say is on the record too, so people will know how we all feel. And the reason I think we should do a positive recommendation, besides the fact that I think that Attorney Seawald, we all think he's doing a good job and should continue on for 4 years, is that what to me, it seems like what people are talking about is a totally different subject, which is on the agenda for Thursday about having a secondary attorney for the counselors. And that has nothing to do with Attorney Seawald. And Attorney Seawald's appointment will go forward on the 27th, right? No matter what we do. Is that correct? I mean, you can't talk.
What point of order? Or
Do you know that?
I guess that would be a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
I mean, you're having the special meeting because if you don't vote on it before the March meeting, he becomes by default city solicitor.
But it's the 27th. Isn't that the cutoff? Because that's why we had to rush and have the meetings.
I honestly don't know the
Okay.
date. I know that March 5th is too late. I know that,
Mhm.
that you guys missed the
Yeah, it's the
cutoff.
27th.
I believe you.
Oh, sorry, Councilor Stratton.
I believe that the full council could block this by voting no on the appointment. I don't believe that the full council would do that, but I think that, the possibilities are for the full council to not vote, and it happens automatically, to vote to confirm, or to vote no. But that's not the issue right now. Just as Councilor Clemmer is uncomfortable with a neutral recommendation, I am uncomfortable with a positive recommendation where any other thing is left to the record and is not actually part of the motion. And I feel in effect that we have a divided recommendation. That is my sense of this small body at this moment.
Councilor Robbins.
So my understanding of a neutral recommendation means just that. It means we are neutral on it, and we bring that recommendation back to the larger council and explain where that neutrality exists, why we feel that way, that we feel very positive about Attorney Seawald as the recommendation from the mayor to work on for the city, but we have some ideas about some alternatives for council representing council representing council. Which seems to me the real discussion, but it's, we're caught up sort of in this, this sort of block of yes, no, black and white sort of deal. I would really like to move my motion forward and say that under any setting, if we bring forward a neutral recommendation, it gives us the opportunity to have a richer discussion with the council. And I've often seen the discussions that come from city services or any other committee to the council, if they're recommended as positive, it to me does inhibit the level of discussion that comes from that. And this one is exploratory, and it may well be something the rest of the council feels very, strongly differently. But I would love us to be able to say this was a subject of discussion among members of our committee, and we would really recommend that we continue that with the council.
Thank you. Thanks. I personally feel like that makes sense. for a neutral recommendation because since as Councilor Stratton said, we are divided, and we would have the opportunity on Thursday to say that we positively recommend Attorney Sewell. You know, like I would vote yes on a positive recommendation, and you would too. So we could we could say that on Thursday. You know, so personally feel like the neutral recommendation might be the best way to go. Councilor Clemmer.
I feel like Counselor Stratton and Counselor Robbins also would support Attorney Sewell. They just want this other, um, to have an option to have another have counselors have their own attorney, which is not on today's agenda. The question is our appointment of Attorney Sewell as a city solicitor. So no matter how we vote, unless the full council votes no, this other item is not part of this. This other item is on the agenda for Thursday and will be discussed on Thursday, and we can discuss the appointment of Attorney Sewell Thursday, no matter what happens today. If people have something to say, they're going to say it. They're not going to not say something because of how we vote. And that, we have to go by what's on the agenda, not what we wish was on the agenda today. That is not a thing right now. Thursday will be discussed. Councilor Stratton's item will be discussed at length and with full council. And so, it's not, unfortunately, it's unfortunate that that was put on the same, that's happening right now. It didn't happen earlier, and it's two different things. And we can have another attorney and still have Attorney Sewell because he's not on retainer and he works by the hour. And it's not stopping any of that other conversation. But we're voting on something that isn't an agenda item right now, which isn't how things work.
Well, I mean, we are voting for something that's on the agenda. We're voting a neutral recommendation would be an appropriate vote if we want, if we felt that was appropriate.
But we're voting on, people want to, it seems to me that people want a neutral vote because they want this other item, having our own counselor as part of this nomination today, a recommendation. And that's not what this is about. Council Stratton's item will be discussed. It's a separate agenda item on Thursday. It's going to be discussed, and it has nothing to do with how, with Attorney Sewell being our solicitor, city solicitor or not. It's a separate, we could still have a separate attorney, and it's not what we're discussing now. So that's what I have a big problem with, is that we're just bringing in random things that aren't involved with this.
Oh, you both have your, sorry. Which one raised your hand first? I didn't see. Councilor Stratton, you want to go first?
So first of all, I would actually agree with Councilor Clemmer that in effect we were considering these things out of order, that we should be considering them in the other order. But we are up against the deadline for this particular question. And we are voting on the recommendation of, Attorney Sewell for the role of city solicitor, as it is presently understood to exist. And we have to vote on that in the context of this other question that is not on the agenda. And, if we cannot include wording in the motion relative to this other item because of the argument that it's not on the agenda, then I think it's very important that our motion not preempt the other item. That, if we have to vote on this question as it stands in the context of this other thing that is not on the agenda, then I am only comfortable voting for something that recognizes that context by not preempting the other decision, which is to say a neutral recommendation. I would love for this report of this committee to find a way to, in its actual language, summarize each person's position. And so I seriously wonder if we could agree that we're not going to agree and just say, this counselor wanted this counselor wanted this counselor wanted this, and this counselor wanted this. I think that would be the most truthful, outcome and the most respectful of everyone's position. But if we have to vote on, a 3-word conclusion, then I need to hold out for neutral. And I recognize that's uncomfortable for my colleague. I completely respect that.
Thank you. Councilor Robbins?
Um, I think I agree. One of the roles of our committee really should be to try to find consensus. And that's really, in a way, reaching to try to see it through the lens of how other people are talking and thinking. I want to take us a step back and say, I've been thinking about this for a long time and I brought it to this discussion. I didn't know that Councillor Stratton had actually put this on the agenda. I know that he submitted it as a new item, but I don't think the city council agenda has even gone live yet. I don't know if it has appeared. Um, but it is something that I've been thinking about for a while. And as a member of this committee, it's still very present for me. So I bring that into this discussion today in front of this group, hoping that we can continue that discussion with the larger council. And I think at this point, my guess is we've pretty much said what we want to say on this. And I wonder if we could just call the question and vote. And the motion on the floor is to vote neutral with an explanation.
Okay.
Could I just take a break?
Yes. How long? Okay.
I don't know if you have noticed in our recent messaging, we have been calling on people to check on their neighbors and yeah. Eh, Yep. The other initiative that we have just started is the high school key club is taking a hard look at creating like a core of young people that can be called upon to come and shovel. Yes. Yeah, I think I copied you on it, and they have responded, and I now know, and not because my daughter is on it, they are discussing it seriously to try and, yeah. And then that David Starr is, okay. All right, I will suggest that. So agreed, it would be wonderful to, yeah. Oh, we were just talking about snow removal and just trying to get everyone the help they need to do it. I mean, I drive around my whole neighborhood with my snowblower, getting everybody I can for the same reason, because there's a lot of older folks that can't do it. And yep, yep.
Okay. Shall we return?
Yeah.
Reconvene? Okay. Where were we? We were talking about having a
Ma-
vote.
Council Robbins called the question, I think. We're neutral.
Okay, so shall we vote? Roll call, please, Alan.
Yes.
And Council Vice President Clemmer.
I will vote for a neutral recommendation with reservation. I believe I'm supporting Attorney Seawald to be reinstated for another 4 years. But in the interest of, the stalemate that we're in, I'm voting neutral.
Okay.
Sorry. Councilor at Large Robbins
Yes.
and Councilor Dubs.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
All right. That's unanimous. Thanks, everybody, for that discussion.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Attorney.
No explanation needed.
Okay. Next item on our agenda is to set the meeting schedule and format for the next 2 years, basically. We have a schedule here. Let's see. So it says that all meetings begin at 5 p.m. unless otherwise posted. I guess this is now we can have a discussion on if that works for everybody. Also, in terms of the format of our meetings. Last term, I think we usually started more like 4 p.m. and isn't that right, Council Clemmer? But 5 is also fine with me. You like it at 4. Okay. I mean, yeah, I liked it at 4, so I wouldn't mind going back to that. Is that okay with you, Councilor Stratton?
I mean, I would prefer the later time, especially in summer, but I'm not going to push against a kind of unified voice here.
Well, we can always if there's a particular time of year, like in the summertime when you want to have a 5 o'clock meeting, we could always just change that for those particular meetings. Yeah.
We can go with this.
Okay. Now, is that something we have to vote on, or we just
but-
like talk about it?
If
How does that work in terms of setting the schedule? We say 4 o'clock and then
And then we'd also have to say like whether it's going to be Zoom only, or or in person. In the first term we did mostly Zoom only, but we would have we would have in person meetings when there was like a particular appointment. Like for example, today was a day that we would have it because of Attorney Seawald's appointment. And then when we had the chief of police appointment, we had that in person also. So like I like that, but I'd be open to doing however everybody else would like to do it. Councilor Stratton?
Could I just ask, I mean, is the pattern here that this is basically the first Monday?
Oh, yeah. It was always the first Monday. Yes, it is the first Monday. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, I'm just sort of looking at the overall city calendar, and I'm not seeing a whole lot of potential conflict. I mean, sometimes like historical commission or Coolidge Standing Committee or something, but actually mostly just historical commission. So yeah, I mean, I think that's generally an open day in the city calendar. Works for me.
Okay. And how do people feel about the format? Do you do you mind Zoom only, or would you prefer to come here in person? Like it's up. I mean, it is up to us.
I'm open to anything.
Okay.
can we be flexible about it?
We could, yeah.
I would suggest that we keep the meetings officially hybrid, and if we find that we are reluctant, if we're having trouble finding enough people to attend in person, that then we make them remote. But barring like a renewed public health emergency or something, I would prefer to try to have in-person meetings.
Okay.
If we if we're not getting someone here to turn on the Zoom,
Right.
then that's going to be a problem. And I'm willing to be that person for a few meetings to make sure it happens. And if we find that we need to step back from it, then I'm absolutely willing to talk about that. But I think there's a dynamic to the in-person that
I think so
I should
too.
preserve if possible.
Yeah, and I think so too. We do sometimes have short meetings. Like last term, there were some meetings that lasted only like 10 to 15 minutes. So Zoom could be good for that. But I also appreciate in person. So yeah, I guess, yeah, I like your idea of hybrid. And then if we want to go all virtual at a certain meeting, we can do that. Councilor Robbins?
Given it's the end of February, when would that start?
Oh, you mean like when would that new format start?
When would our next meeting be?
Oh, our next meeting would be, oh, I guess it would be March 2nd. Is that right?
But there's nothing.
Oh, we don't have any referrals yet. I think that, yeah, that is also, we don't have meetings unless we have referrals. So that's a good point.
We never generate our own agenda.
Well, we do if it's like a special meeting, like I when I mentioned the snow removal meeting, that was a meeting that we scheduled specifically to talk about snow removal. So like we can do things like that also. Um, but yeah, normally it's like we have a meeting when we have a new referral.
So I would love it if we could maybe have early on in our agenda talk about what the scope of this committee could do,
Mhm.
which Councillor Stratton mentioned earlier. And it's intrigued me because that's my impression as well, that it's historically kind of gotten smaller and smaller. And maybe we can work with a little bit more. So I think I'd like to reserve judgment on saying that we only meet when we are being sent something from council. I mean, there might be something else that generates that.
Okay. Councilor Stratton?
So, I mean, just looking at things, I mean, we have a special council meeting on Thursday, which probably will not generate any referrals. Because March 2nd is a Monday, Thursday, actually before that council meeting. Well, no, it's a 4 p.m. meeting. I mean, about when we're convening would be our open meeting law deadline to decide if we're going to have a meeting on Monday or not. So in effect, we probably just want to decide today that we're not, or leave it to the chair to, announce that at noon on Thursday or something.
Right.
And I do like the idea of using our charter. I mean, sorry, our council rules. Opportunity to explore some things, and I hope especially that these will be maybe interactive discussions with city departments rather than just a half-hour presentation. But I don't really see very much that would be on the agenda for Monday. So I'm sort of tempted to figure out whether we approve this with an amendment to delete Monday and change the time to 4 p.m. or what we would do procedurally.
I mean, that sounds good to me to do that. Um, Another thing I remembered is that sometimes we would have this situation like we have now where there'd be no referrals. And then when that happened, Stan would just, Councilor Moulton would just schedule a meeting like sometimes later in the month, like when we got the referrals. So it is kind of open. It's not always like exactly set in stone like that. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm just wondering sort of, how we wrap up our decision making
Sure.
today. And I believe Councilor Comer had her hand up.
Oh, sorry, Councilor Clemmer.
Like, if something does get referred, which I don't think there is any referrals on next Thursday's meeting, but we've had special meetings for any committee when something's coming up, but as chair of community resources too, I was respectful of people's times, and if there was nothing on the agenda, I wasn't going to ask people to come in just for the sake of coming in. And we can always have, if stuff does get referred the first or the third Thursday, we can always have a special meeting at some point.
Councilor Stratton?
I would move that we approve the proposed schedule, except that the time would be 4 p.m. and that there will be no scheduled meeting on March 2nd of 2026. And, with
Would you like to?
with other meetings as needed by the chair. But I mean, I move that we approve the proposed schedule, except that we cancel the Monday, March 2nd meeting right now, and we change the time to 4 p.m. rather than the 5 p.m. that was proposed.
I second that motion. Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. Roll call, please, Alan. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, March 2nd.
March 2nd. Yeah.
Yes.
And I guess it's hybrid. I don't know if that we don't. I don't know if we need to say it, but we've also said that they'd be hybrid meetings. Yes.
That matches my intent as well.
Okay.
President Clemmer,
Yes.
Okay.
Approve. meeting.
Counselor at Large Robbins,
Yes.
Counselor Dubs,
Yes.
and Counselor Stratton.
Yes.
Unanimously approved.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody. Okay, so I think that's going to wrap up our meeting. If there's a motion to adjourn, unless there's any new business. Sorry, unless there's new business. Okay.
Second.
Okay. Motion made by Counselor Robbins, seconded by Counselor Clemmer. Roll call, please.
Counselor at Large Robbins,
Yes.
Counselor Dubs,
Yes.
Counselor Stratton,
Yes.
Council Vice President Clemmer.
Yes.
That's unanimous.
Okay, meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.